Hi again, Cori. So I just now finished watching your response to Teacher Tom's Birds of a Feather Flocking Together blog post. And so we haven't talked at all since you watched mine and I watched yours. So people watching this video should know that we have not communicated at all.
No.
And the other interesting thing is that I'm going to be talking to Tom on the telephone today at 5 o'clock. So that's 3 hours from now. So, oh my goodness, I don't know. I have so many things to say. I made a point in mine. I made a point in mine of speaking about how you have talked about how you see children genuinely being resilient and playing, and you can tell that even with the masks on, that they are still having authentic, meaningful moments. So I made a point to reference that. I did not speak about his specific language, but when I read it to myself this morning, and then even when I read it aloud, I absolutely both times experienced exactly what you're saying relative to the words brainwash. I believe the word cruelty might have been in there, soul crushing. Those words were very powerful, impactful words. And what I did both times was I made a decision in my brain, as someone who reads a lot, to just skim right over and discount that word. That's what I did. And you have to also realize that I've been reading Tom's blog for years, and I own one of his books. And so I'm not suggesting that I haven't loved, as I said, 95% of his posts. But those particular words, to people who haven't read him for a long time, may interpret those words as anyway, you'll talk about that in a second. Some of my other, so if Tom watches this, I'm not trying to be insulting, that when I say that I read it, and the minute I read it, both to myself before I was on any social media, just like I had woken up and I'm like on my phone and having my first drink of the morning, and I'm reading it and reading other posts, those words did jump at me. But I also have read Tom, his writing, for so long now, and I've met him. And so even though those words did jump at me, I was looking for the overall messages. And so I didn't give the time or thought to those words that I should have, and their potential impact. I did say that we are opening when Nova Scotia permits centers to open, and that we are very, very thankful for all of your live Facebook feeds and all of your guidance, and we're still seeking it, and we intend to do the very best we can to still have meaningful connection with children. And I said that in my video. But I do also, like, to me, the crux of his message was that social distancing isn't normal for kids. And I tried to say that. And that was what the crux of the message that I got out of it was, and that's what I was agreeing with. So then when I listened to yours, like, I'm not there with you in your center every day. for the 7 weeks, middle of the 7th week. But we talk every day. And so I sort of feel like I am just a little bit there with you, just a little bit. Like, I really, truly don't think I have any inkling of what you're really going through. I just try. I try every day. I try to understand what you're doing. I try so hard, and I try to picture myself walking in your shoes. I try to picture my team walking in your team member's shoes. And then, but I'm going to be super honest, because then I'm thankful. I'm thankful I'm not in your shoes. And I'm thankful my team aren't in your shoes. And I'm thankful our children aren't in your children's shoes. But we are going to be very, very soon, like probably within a couple of weeks. And if we didn't have your words of wisdom, and I know you don't think they're words of wisdom, you always say I'm not an expert, et cetera, but you're living it, and you're breathing it, and you're practicing it, and you're modifying it. And I absolutely am like listening to every word you say and clutching onto it. And my favorite part of when you talk about everything you talked about how you felt about what Tom wrote, I mean, absolutely, he's not providing it. He's no longer working in a center right now, I believe. But my favorite part is when you talk about the little girl, Cori, and how you say to her, I'm so happy to see you today. Because I was in a recent group, I was in a recent session.
You're able to do. Oops, sorry. My phone, what's going on?
I was in a recent Zoom group meeting session with a bunch of providers from Canada and the United States. And a very well-known speaker said, like, he just outright said that, like, no, you shouldn't have masks on. And another provider also said, no, like they just said, no, we will. The speaker doesn't currently work in a center, and he said, no, shouldn't happen. And then the provider said, it will not happen at my program. And then another person said they were being a devil's advocate. And they said, can you not from here up see how a person is feeling? Is there not more to the face that expresses and emotes? And I said that. I jokingly said, but it was joking but not joking, that unless the person has had Botox, you can indeed, because the eyes are the window of the soul, and all of this moves. And so I know that when you looked at that little girl, Cori, and you said, I'm glad to see you today. I know she saw that with 150%. I absolutely know that she saw that. And I know that when you looked at her face with her mask on, that you saw that she was completely genuine too. Mm-hmm. Like, I do believe that you can achieve authenticity in bizarre circumstances. I do believe that. I'm shutting up now.
I don't mean to, you know me, that laughter is one way that I release tension. And I will say, watching you process that blog post was probably one of the most painful, agonizing, frustrating experiences for me of the entire 7 weeks of doing this. And I almost didn't make it through it, Heather, but I just knew I needed to. And at the end of it, I wanted to throw my computer at the wall. Because That's exactly what I'm talking about. That is exactly why we have to be careful of the words that are used, because it has that kind of impact on people. Those high level emotion words. And even if you can say, I tried to set it off to the side, even you saying it out loud and reading that article out loud had a tone and emotion to it that then I could see people's comments. And as they were commenting, they were being impacted by it. And in my mind, it's all unhelpful. You got to a point, Heather, where and you know I love you. So I'm just, one of the reasons I want to talk about this is because your process with that blog post is exactly what a lot of people are going through with this. You got to a point where you were using language you would never use with children. And that is the words right and wrong. And this isn't about right and wrong. It's a whole lot of gray. It is so much gray. It's gray upon gray. It's every shade of gray there is. And the more we keep it right and wrong, it is not going to allow, because we have to keep on living. That is our hope here. We do not know what will happen, but we can't just completely shut down, because shutting down has potential for damaging children too. I mean, that was one piece I tried to make a point of that I pulled out of it is it's not that I do think I appreciate that he wrote that policy. He's not trying to inform policy. I think he's just trying to process it. What I am calling for is for people in this field to be careful. And maybe I need to be careful. Maybe I need to pull it in right now, but I'm frustrated. I'm exhausted. When you're talking, I'm getting teary because I'm like, I don't know if I can be the only one trying to walk the middle road here. I'm exhausted by it. Right and wrong aren't helpful. And there just is a tone when you're using those kinds of words, exactly what you were just saying there about the masks. I mean, I'm just tired of it. I'm so freaking tired of it. Because I'm just trying to keep everybody safe. And you're right. People who are talking don't know. What I am seeing, we have had different roads going to a similar place. I had 1 week to pull it together. And you can bet, I'm just trying to remember that first day driving into work. And it was still, I mean, that was 2 months ago. The light was different than it is now. And it was scary. And there were no cars on the road. And I just remember feeling like I am driving myself alone into this Armageddon. That's what it felt like. Like I had, and I got in and I just started doing it. I just started trying to figure it out. And at the same time as doing that, hearing this criticism of people in our field, and again, people not doing it, and not even knowing why I am doing it. The biggest public hospital is right near my school. These children need to be here. This is the safest place. There are people where both parents are medical workers and they are not near family. They don't necessarily have other people who can care for their children. It's complex. It's so complex.
It is complex. It is complex. And every every meeting group that I have met with through, this is why through your whole 7 weeks, I have shared your videos in the big group here in Nova Scotia with over 3,000 people. And I've said, you have to follow this woman. She's living it. She's breathing it. In every director's meeting I have been in, I have said, you have to listen to her. She's a voice of experience. She changes things every day. She has to change things every day. She's researching things every day and she's living it. And then in that other group that I was in with providers from both the States and Canada, when they started talking, I mean, that was a small group. There might have only been 8 of us in that group, and 2 were Canadians and the rest were Americans. And, you know, you're right. It's a time that people are making a lot of judgments and they're not the people walking the walk. And so I have done my damnedest to reserve judgment. I have done my damnedest to reserve judgment. I have. And I said in my video that Kids Are Kids is going to be opening. So I know it's confusing because I'm sharing this on Due Resources, because I'm also a person who presents and consults with programs, but I also operate a program, and we're opening, and we're taking every bit of knowledge you have shared with us, and we're going to follow our guidelines and our restrictions and everything else, and we're going to do our very best. And I really believe with all of my heart, Cori, all of my heart, and I couldn't believe it.
Okay.
I could not believe it without you, that the children will have meaningful moments in it. They will, and we will be real with them in it. But then there's this other part of me, because I'm not yet walking the walk. I'm not yet. That tiny part of me, because through your 7 weeks, because I, as your friend, have been right there beside you. Like, I mean, from the day one that you started it, you did some Facebook Lives on your personal Facebook. That's how I first started seeing it. So before you even had a Facebook page.
And you're the one who set up my page. We should say that. So I can blame you if it doesn't go very well.
Oh, thanks. Because I was going to say, that's irrelevant. But right then, like, as your friend, I was like, holy what? Holy what? She's gonna what? And so right from the very beginning, I've been like, I think it's insulting to suggest that I was there beside you walking the walk, because I wasn't walking the walk. But I feel like I've, at the end of the night, we message each other at night, and I'm like, how you doing? And you're telling me how you're doing, and you say, how am I doing? Well, I mean, for God's sakes, I'm in the safety of my home. I've got my pets. I had my daughter for the 7 weeks. I don't have her this right now, but I had my daughter. I mean, other than COVID-19 quarantine messing with my head, and then knowing that we're going to open, knowing that Nova Scotia's cases were going down, knowing that we're going to be opening, I've had to try to start processing all of that. And I've tried, and then I've been sharing your insights with some people. Lots of people have loved them and been like, oh my gosh, okay, I have to start ordering stuff. And then there's this other teeny tiny group, and they're like, what? I'm not buying anything. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think we're going to be opening for a long time. It's not going to be safe. There's going to be a vaccine. And there's like this other group. It's a small group.
Yeah.
And they're still valuable, and I still respect them, and they provide good programs for children. And so I still communicate with them. And
that's a valid choice.
But then I have to talk to these other directors, because they're like, and some of them already have the equipment. They've like ordered the equipment and they've received the equipment. And so I'm not there, but I'm not here. And then at night we talk. And then when I tell you that, oh, Cori, I'm having a horrible day and My head is messed up, and I can't get my head around this. I can't get my head around the fact that we'll only have so many kids, and how do you make the determination as to, like, what if hypothetically every single family wants to come back the day we
Yeah, that is something I don't know yet, because I've been trying to figure that out myself, if that happens here.
Right,
It's
right.
happening in, I think Oregon is one state where they limited the number. There's a couple states. So
it's I mean, it was quite the blog post. It was quite the blog post. I think that he certainly, I guess the comment you said at the end of yours,
what'd I say?
you said, I'm trying to think of the exact wording.
I hope it.
You know how sometimes you know something to be true and it's best practice, or it's a developmental theory or whatever it is, and then we've learned something different. It's just like on Facebook right now, everybody's talking about
that we have to adapt. It's already out of date.
That's
a little
the
bit.
phrase. That's the phrase.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's already out of date. Exactly.
At least for this.
Because we're talking about, we keep saying, like lots of people are just saying, and I'm not talking ECEs. ECEs are saying it. Children are saying it. One of my most famous one of my favorite things I've read through this whole 7 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever the hell it's been, because time has lost meaning, is a friend of mine tweeted a conversation with a child, and the child had said, I guessed he was 8 or 9, because the tweet didn't say how old the kid was. But when I read it, I felt like the kid was 8 or 9. And the kid said, "Who?" And it was a tweet, so I'm interpreting it. So when I say it just now, I might have the kid's tone of voice totally wrong, of course. But he was like, "Who made COVID-19 anyway? Who made it? Who made it? Who made it? Why did they make it? Why?" And then he said, I just want to go out and touch the pavement. I just want to touch the pavement. And then at the end of it, he looked at, I made an assumption when I read the tweet that my friend who tweeted it is the father. But maybe he's an uncle, maybe, like, I don't know. I made an assumption. And at the very end, the little fella looked at my friend and said, "What the flip?" And, you know, every time we say, I wish it would go back to normal. I just wish it would go back to normal. I just wish it would go back. It's never going to go back to normal, because that normal is, as we all know, like the majority of intelligent, thoughtful, reflective human beings, the second you say, "I wish it would go back to normal," your brain almost immediately says to you, yeah, even then, that normal every day changed. So this is going to be a completely different normal, right? Like,
sorry, somebody was just trying to hand me a piece of pizza, and I thought twice about taking it.
Pizza?
Sorry.
Yeah.
It is. I just have to say, the world goes on. It is Teacher Appreciation Week, so somebody sent us pizza. But anyway, I'll let my pizza go cold for you, Heather.
Well, I think we're almost done anyway, and so happy Teacher Appreciation Week to you.
Yeah. I think that the thing is that we have to, this is where mindset is so important. We have to choose helpful thoughts, okay? And for those of you who have been home, because I know how I am on the weekend, and I know how I was the week before we closed. Either, and you probably had a combination, I would guess. Maybe I shouldn't act like I'm an expert on what it was like to be home for 7 weeks, but I'm just going to guess what I think. You see how my brain hurts just trying to not like be an expert, but is that there's a spiraling that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go, and as I talk to directors who are trying to process process this information. They're like, and what about this? And what about this? And what about this? And this and this? And their brains are just popping off. And then you're emotionally bearing the weight of every single one of those decisions. And so as I could say some colorful words here, I'm trying to be careful here. As not fun as this experience has been doing pandemic care, being the guinea pigs for it, I didn't have to think about it a lot. I could reflect and I could kind of think ahead for the next day, but like it all has played out maybe the way it should have, because maybe it would have made me crazy to go be not here. Being here from day to day has helped me focus on what is most important. It's funny. Isn't that so funny? Because what y'all are talking about is relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm doing every day. I'm focusing on the relationships most of my day. And then, 25% of my day looking at the next thing. I'm focusing on my relationships with you all. I am, focusing on these kids. It's like a structure that I have to work through, but my relationships are not suffering. And I do not see so far, do not see the children suffering. Where it's going to get tricky is when we have more kids here, and I am still trying to figure out, but I just have in my heart, because I have no other choice than to think this, that we will figure it out when we get to that point too.
Yeah.
Because it does no good for me to go, I don't know if I'm going to have the answer. I don't know if I'm going to have the answer. I have to just trust myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I need to hear other people saying. Okay, it's going to be hard. There's going to be some things that are really not okay. And I think that's where I go to, what I tried to go to, because I don't want to downplay any of the emotions. This is what you said in your video about the kids and the, seeing them play to each other. And we've all seen, and this is not the only experience where we have had to witness children in hard circumstances. Looking at the children's drawings from the Holocaust, right? And that's why it's like, this is a bigger thing. It's bigger than any of us. I'm just this little person here, right? This isn't the first time a child's going to be in a really bad circumstance. And I think it's the fact that emotions of the mask has me really thinking about kids who go through life-threatening diseases. I didn't have a life-threatening disease, but as a preteen, I had very, very severe scoliosis. And I had to go through quite a bit of extensive stuff with that. And there were things that I know was really hard for my parents to witness me go through, even as a 13-year-old. And I was at, back then it was called Scottish Rite Hospital for crippled children. Crippled children is the word it is. Now it's just Scottish Rite Hospital for Children. And so it was all children with like bad bone things. But I witnessing parents all the time, adults all the time, have to see children in a bad context, like an unfair, crappy, most cuss words you can think of context every day. And yet we don't look at those parents and say, you're doing something traumatizing, or we're doing something traumatizing. We look at the adults in the situation and we say, thank you for being a healer, and thank you for being a helper. And that's what we all have to be saying to all of us who are trying to figure this out. We're not bad educators because we're engaging the difficult problem or engaging the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to be a Mr. Rogers helper. And it's not perfect. And that's a very important point that I want people to say. It is not perfect. And there are things that are awkward, and there are moments that are hard, and you learn from it. And you know what? Every day in a child care program is imperfect. Every single day is imperfect. So it's just on a more intense level. And so I don't know what I'd love to have a conversation with Tom sometime. Me little Dallas director here, but to engage. And I've just thought that we just need to have.
Well, I had the idea, since I know him a little bit, to say, hey, do you want to come on a Zoom with Cori and I? And then I thought, oh, I wonder if I'll tell Cori, like, wouldn't that be something to see your face on a recording?
And I'd be like, no, that would have been, oh. I didn't say it right, but you all know what I thought. I would have been like, oh my God. Because I am really worried. He doesn't know me. And so he doesn't know that my response to him is really meant with respect, but I think it's off base and unhelpful.
Well,
and Heather, I'm worried about your video up there.
I know you are. I know you are now. Once I watched your video and started to process my feelings and thoughts to your video, then I thought about my video. And
but I think you need to keep it up. But I think you need to write part 1.
Yes, I know. Well, it's funny because last week, Deliska and we were watching a YouTube video of someone reading a storybook. Didn't know the person from Adam. And Liski and I were watching it, and she turned around and she looked at my face. And she goes, uh-huh, uh-huh. And I said, what? And she goes, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. And I said, what are you thinking, Deliska? And she goes, you think you're the queen bee of reading storybooks. That's what she said. and I said,
I love your daughter. I love you too, but I love your daughter too.
I do not think I am the queen bee of reading storybooks. And it's funny because many, many, many years ago, like I don't even know how long ago. Well, I'm 52, so I feel like I was, Lord, love of God, I don't know if I was maybe 15 or something, but my great aunt was a nun. And so occasionally as a family, we would visit her at, it was the Sisters of Charity Mother House at the Mound. And there was a time that I was asked at a service to get up. And back then, there were a lot of nuns back then. There aren't many now. But anyway, I was asked by my great aunt Vonnie if I would go up to the altar and do a reading. So anyway, I was nervous, but I did it. So afterwards, there was some kind, and it was like a huge church inside this massive building where all these nuns lived. So afterwards, we went to what seemed like sort of like a cafeteria dining room kind of thing. And I want to tell you, Cori, a lot of nuns came to me again and again and again during that meal to say, you have such a gift with how you read the word. You have such a gift. The Lord has given you a gift, and you have to become a minister of the liturgy and read the word. And Cori, I don't even think you know, but I did become a minister of the liturgy, and I was for many years. I was a minister of liturgy at two different parishes. And
what?
Yes.
Do you know I have not a master's of divinity, but I went to seminary.
I do know that about you. Yes. Yes. Someday,
We're all a little weird.
when we're not reading, when we're not discussing an ECE topic, we can talk stuff like that. But anyway,
Can't handle any conversations about God in the middle of this.
I'm saying that when my daughter said, "You think you are the queen bee of storybook reading," like from that age of, I don't know, 14 or 15, whenever a million nuns told me that I could really read the word, that is separate. My interpretation of the Bible or whatever is completely separate. But for me, I put, oh my gosh, now I'm going to burn in HE double hockey sticks, because I want to say that I put every bit as much passion into reading a storybook as I do as into reading the word of God. But that, I'm going to burn in HE double hockey sticks for that statement. I'm just saying that when I read Tom's thing this morning, it impacted me so quickly, so fast, that when I read it out loud, I didn't give a lot of thought to it, but I was reading it the way
like it was Shakespeare.
Like it was what?
Here is how you read it.
Like it was Shakespeare?
The Hamlet, to be or, yeah, it was full on to be or not to be. I'm telling you.
Okay, well, I mean, like, Cori, if you can for 1 second pretend, I want you to pretend, take your mind, I know it's going to be really hard for you, but take your mind and pretend that tomorrow, magically, there's a vaccine, magically. And you know what? It's going to be Canadian person. It's going to be Canadian. We're going to make the vaccine.
Or German.
It's not going to be American.
No.
Anyway, the vaccine comes to fruition. It's magical. Boom, bang, boom. It's drug administration approved, and people start lining up. And within a couple of weeks, we can have normal, what used to be normal early childhood again. So then at that point in time, so we've all got vaccines, we're weeks from now, whatever, we go back, we read Tom's post again. And then we say, yeah, developmentally, it's wrong to expect children to understand social distancing. Like, and if you read that thing like a year ago, because I'm with you, the words brainwashing and all those things, I'm with you on all of that, and he's not walking the walk. And you've been asking me for weeks, why do I think the big ECE presenters haven't been saying anything about this? And
I know I have, because I've just been royally annoyed. And now I guess I know why.
He did. He said something. And now we're talking.
I'm such a hypocrite, aren't I? I'm so sorry.
You are not at all a hypocrite. I'm just saying to you that if you weren't in this situation, practicing it and breathing it and living it, and I said to you randomly at GMTC, hey, there's this little teeny tiny country called Michoacan, and I hope there isn't really a country named that, because that would be bad. And in that country, there's some kind of disease, and the children at an early childhood program have to be this, and they can't hold their hands, and they can't. And I'm like, Cori, like, what do you think of that? I mean, is that okay to ask children to like not hug each other and not touch each other and not reach their little arms up to their teacher and not this? Like, I have goosebumps right now because I've known you for 6 years. And so if you and I were hanging out at a cabin at GMTC and I was telling you about that country, Michoacan.
Yeah.
And I feel like you'd look at me and go, what? Don't be.
Yeah, I probably would. That's true.
Children could not understand that.
Yeah.
I'm reading, Heather.
You're right. That's fair. Well, here's the thing, and I just kind of want to end here, because I did pull up that picture that you put up.
Oh, yes.
Of all the stuff.
Oh, yes.
And I read it, and I kind of scanned it really fast, and then I read the comments, and my first reaction was, oh, heck no.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went and I read it again. And I have to say, because it has to do with how it's written, there's only one item on there that we aren't doing in some way. And
Okay,
that
so
is making kids sit in the same seat all day. So
So-
to me, again, I think it is an issue of delivery. And that also, which is I'm having to do a lot of parent communication, and I'm being really thoughtful about what is going to be alarmist and what is going to make people feel like I'm being over controlling. And because basically in the end, everything that I say, whether it's me talking to you here, whether it is a parent, whether it's saying something online, is to try to not be alarmist and try to be a calm presence so that we can think this through. And that I think that's what's going to set us up for success.
so we just
And
need
I
to-
mean, that's such a trite phrase, but it's going to be our best case scenario.
Right, because what really is success? We don't know
Yeah.
what success is at this point in time.
Yeah.
We would have to ask the country of Michoacán, since they've
Exactly.
already been through it, what is
Yes.
success? Because that little tiny imaginary country could tell us.
Yes.
But to put things into context, really anyone watching this video would really need and should really need, number one, to put it into context, they would need to see, well, they should read Teacher Tom's post. They should watch my live. They should watch your live. And then I believe what you're talking about right now is I posted a photo of some restrictions that Quebec has issued because they are reopening elementary schools on May 19th. I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. That.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know, and I love that you said that you the first time you read it you were like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, because I got pulled into the emotions. I went to the GMTC page, and I know all of you who commented on that, and your emotions affected me.
Yeah.
Or I allowed them to affect me. Yeah. And then I went back in, because you are all people that I respect. And that also goes back to due diligence with our own emotions and due diligence with talking before anybody sticks anything up.
Exactly.
So, and that's why I am so careful. I try to be. I'm sure I have messed up here or there, but about saying that this is what I am thinking right now, because things will change. Even some of the stuff I put at the beginning, it might be out of date. I don't have time to go back and look at all of it, but some of the stuff is different. So, well, I got to get going because I have cold pizza to eat, and I'm sure everybody stopped listening like 15 minutes ago. But here is one thing that I think would be really helpful is if you post this, Heather, if you could ask people to put the order that they read or watched things, because I just wonder if that has an impact.
Oh, definitely. Well, I was planning to send you the recording because I thought you might want to post it as well. But if you don't want to send it, that's fine.
You post it and I'll share it.
Okay.
Because you're the one who's going to do the work to get this thing up there.
Okay, listen, enjoy your pizza. I've got no pizza here.
I love you.
I love you too.
Bye.
Bye.